Hello, I'm Bob Ellis, and this is The Desk of Dana, a conversation with UMass Lowell Athletic Director Dana Skinner. And Dana, welcome.
Good to see you, Bob.
I want to start off by talking about a phrase I hear every so often in relation to this institution, and I suppose in college sports, and that is building the complete student athlete. I've heard that phrase used. I'd like to start by asking for a definition. What is the complete student athlete? What are we talking about?
Well, a lot of components go into developing the complete student athlete, but in the end, it's our responsibility, I believe, to make sure that student athletes are ready to face the challenges of the real world when they graduate from college. So again, a lot goes into that, but certainly that's our objective, make sure they're ready to become contributing citizens as soon as they graduate from college. One of our primary challenges, if you looked at the 7 goals of our athletic department, number 1 is to develop 21st century leaders. So certainly the academic preparation, their student athlete experience, I've always believed is their advantage in life. The two of those together, the academic preparation that they get at UMass Lowell, coupled with their athletic experience, I believe is their advantage in life.
Are there additional aspects to that in that, as long as I've known you as an athletic director or part of this university, very important to you has been things such as community service. That's not defined by a class schedule or a sports schedule. Is that another component when we talk about building the complete student athlete?
Well, it is for me. I go back a long way with that. I was a young student athlete at Merrimack College, and young kids from the Lawrence Boys and Girls Club would come and feed me the basketball as I would practice on occasion. So I developed a strong relationship there and retained that for the rest of my life. I believe community engagement is a primary responsibility, especially for public institutions. If you go back to the earliest beginnings of public institutions, they came about to teach, to do research, and to provide service. We try to do the best we can to meet that early challenge for public education, and I believe community engagement helps in a couple of ways. One, it provides real assistance to organizations that are really trying to do some important things out there. Number 2, I think it demonstrates to our student athletes the privilege that they all have of being college student athletes. Sometimes I think they take that for granted, and I think when they get exposed to organizations like Team Impact, an organization that is pairing young children with life-threatening illnesses with college student athletes, so it serves a dual purpose. It helps the organizations, and I think it teaches our student athletes a valuable lesson about the wonderful opportunities that they have.
When our student athletes enroll, I assume they make a certain sort of commitment. They are going to work hard academically, they're going to work hard athletically. Is there a commitment we are making to them at the same time?
Sure, but it certainly starts with recruiting quality student athletes. Our coaches are trying to recruit student athletes that are committed to becoming the complete student athlete. That's first and foremost. If you don't have a willing student athlete, there's not a lot that an institution can do to change that. But once they get here, we provide as many resources as we can and the exposure needed for them to develop into the complete student athletes. For example, when we elevated to Division I, we built a new student athlete academic center, and that academic center has become the heartbeat of the Costello Athletic Center. It is crowded. In fact, it's already outgrown the size over there. The student athletes are there all the time. They're getting academic support. They're working on their own community engagement activities, leadership development. It's become the heartbeat of Costello.
Do we sometimes forget the challenges that student athletes face? In that I would assume as a student, that's a pretty full-time demanding day, job, however you want to describe it. Then being an athlete's a pretty full-time demanding job as well. Do we, as institutions, expect, I hate to say it this way, expect more from our student athletes than we may from our students?
We certainly do, and we make no bones about that. Student athletes have a rare privilege, in my view, of being student athletes. And It's a high expectation business, if you will. I mean, I hate to call it a business, but being a student athlete in college certainly comes with high expectations. And our student athletes are up to it. And as I said earlier, it starts with recruiting student athletes who are fully committed. It's a busy day, certainly, for student athletes. And I honestly, you know, my father used to always tell me, every once in a while I would call my father and maybe complain about things at work, and he'd say to me, you know, Dana, if your job was any easier, a lesser person could do it. It's yours to do. And I sort of look at student athletes the same way. Our student athletes are not lesser people. We certainly have high expectations academically, athletically, and with our expectation that they develop into 21st century leaders. So it's a busy day, but having been a student athlete myself, you know, sometimes, you know, there's an old line that if you want something done well, give it to a busy person. And that certainly is the standard we set for our student athletes.
How does one judge success? Do we look at graduation rates? Do we look at grade point averages? And I know, being around some of the teams myself, my impression is our student athletes do extraordinarily well in the classroom.
Yeah, they've done very well. But, you know, Bob, I've been in this business a long time. And you almost evaluate every student athlete differently. Not all of the best achieving students academically, you know, do as well in life as some who didn't achieve as well academically but have other qualities that they bring to the table. So our responsibility, our challenge, certainly for our academic counselors and the rest of our athletic staff, is to develop each student athlete as individuals. Every one of them brings certain skills to the table, some stronger in some areas than others, but at the end of the day, there are different paths to becoming the complete student athlete, and we try to work with each individual to put them on the path that works best for them.
Are we doing a good job? You know, I say, how do we measure it? Are we doing a good job? What do you think?
We have for a long time, I think. Certainly, we've been a leader on the community engagement part for a long time. We hosted the National Youth Sports Program at Lowell for 17 years, which was a program designed to help Lowell's at-risk children. Our student athletes were involved in that. Our coaches were involved. That's been part of our mission here for a long time, and I think it exposes our student athletes to some opportunities that maybe you wouldn't get exposed to at some other campuses. But overall, I get to meet an awful lot of our student athletes after they graduate and they're raising families and becoming contributing citizens. And I'm always impressed that with the type of students that Lowell produces. And I'll say this, just recently, UMass Lowell was named the Public Institution of the Year by the Center for Internships and Academic Studies down in Washington, D.C. Well, that was not an accident. That's an institution that is committed to preparing its students to go on and become productive citizens as soon as they graduate. So when you look at the different metrics that are used to measure the success and the impact of an institution, UMass Lowell, from getting judged as a top institution by payscale.com for the funds or the salaries that they achieve in mid-career, from being named Public Institution of the Year. I certainly think UMass Lowell is meeting its obligation to prepare its students for life after college.
Dana, thank you very much for your time.
Good to be here. Good to see you again.
Here's Dana Skinner, the Director of Athletics at UMass Lowell. I'm Bob Ellis. This has been From the Desk of Dana.